Welcome back, V.O.C. YouTube channel. Week 1 of college football. We had week 0. Kind of get you a little dab, a little dibble of what's going on. But now you jump into, now everybody is playing in college football. It's exciting time. It is go time for everybody. So today what I'm going to talk about is how Sam Hartman has transformed Notre Dame into a potential national championship team with what he's brought to them. And then I'm going to talk about something a little goofy about how depth charts in the transfer portal are correlating in a weird way that you would never think of. And then my picks for this week. So let's jump into it. Sam Hartman has transformed Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman has found his man at quarterback. And while I don't know is much of a surprise, it shouldn't be much of a surprise that he played well against Navy. It's Navy. He's in his 6th year. But he proved just what Notre Dame has been missing with a quarterback. The last, I would say, 16, 17 years. The last time Notre Dame had a quarterback that finished in the top 5 of Heisman Trophy voting was Brady Quinn in 2006, where he finished 3rd. Brady was also, I think, finished 4th in 2005. So not since him has Notre Dame really had a quarterback on a national stage where you go, he is a game changer, he makes plays, he helps them do things better and not hurt them. So when you look at Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, what he brings to the team, what he brings to the school, is he brings accountability. He brings a guy that could easily win the Heisman Trophy. He brings you to a team where it's like where you might have been, oh, Notre Dame's a quarterback away or they're this away. He fills them holes that make you a national championship team, a team that can win a national title. With him, he's very good, but he also shows you the great strengths that a team like Notre Dame actually has. The offensive line is very good to begin with. The running backs are very good to begin with, but then they have talent at wide receiver. The people that don't know Notre Dame, haven't watched what they've done in the past 2 off seasons or the past 2 seasons with Stuckey at wide receiver coaches. They really have good wide receivers. Now, they're going to have a good tight end, but the wide receivers are very good. And it showed off in the Navy game where a freshman, Jaden Greathouse, caught 2 touchdown passes, right? And it's like the talent is completely there for Notre Dame on the outside perimeter play. This is the best Notre Dame wide receiver corps I have seen since Michael Floyd, Golden Tate played on the same team together. That's how good this team is. And with Sam Hartman, he's only going to help those guys and show those guys off any more than what they need to be, right? Hartman went 19 for 23 for 251 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, tying most passing touchdowns for an Irish quarterback in their debut. He made the game look easy, helped put Navy away early, and that's something Notre Dame struggled with in years past with a team like Navy, where they've kind of let them play, they've let them come back. With Sam Hartman, the feel of the team is different. There's more confidence. You can tell that Marcus Freeman, he doesn't want to give away what the team has, but he knows what the team has, and he knows what the team can be. Now, there's still question marks on the defensive side, but I think offensively they're going to be very good. I think you have a chance of them being a top 10 offense in college football. And now that you look down the schedule, games that are going to be big games or games that they potentially you could look at as trap games, I don't know if they lose those games. Right now he gives you the ability to where you should win the games that you're supposed to win easier. And then the games where you have a fringe on, which is USC, Ohio State, and Clemson, he now gives you a chance to win those games. So if he continues on the path he's going on to give them the stability, and he's been there, done that feel, and the play the way that he does, he makes the game look super easy. The 1 touchdown pass, which was the second to Jaden Gray, it was one of the best plays I've seen a Notre Dame quarterback make ever, maybe, right? It was just that good. He can make plays. He helps Notre Dame. He propels them. He gives a guy like Marcus Freeman the chance to have a very good year this year, which then builds the rest of the program for him. It's crazy how one guy can change a team, but if you have the right quarterback at a school for a team, he changes it completely when you look at college football. Sam Hartman does that for Notre Dame and gives Notre Dame the chance to be very, very special this year, and he gives them a chance to do some great things. All right, I thought this was kind of funny how multiple coaches now, I mean, when we look at the transfer portal, what is the transfer portal? How does it it's changed college football forever in the way that now you can transfer. You don't have to sit out. You can go to one school, next year you're at another school. Hell, 6 months you're at another school, right? But it's very funny when we look at these things and we look at the transfer portal and we think of different reasons. But I think one thing where it's really shaped teams in the way coaches think is you have coaches like Nick Saban and Ryan Day on depth charts and how they don't want to release depth charts. And, Nick Saban said he was not going to release a depth chart for the upcoming season going into their first game this week. He did just release, who the starting quarterback was going to be is Millhouse. So you have all those things, but I just think it's funny how we look at the transfer portal as shaping different objects, but it's really shaping the way coaches go about talking about their players, talking to their players. It's very interesting because now if a kid doesn't play, the kid has the power now. To where 5 years ago, 3 years ago, a kid didn't have as much power, right? If you wanted to transfer, you had to sit out. Now you don't have to. So if a kid's not going to start, I can just leave. Right, so you look at that, and I think it's very interesting how coaches like Nick Saban, who are these dominant, profound coaches, are now shaping the way that they approach their team around, I can't hurt this guy's feelings. I can't tell him he's the second quarterback. I can't tell him he's the third wide receiver. Because we look at it from a perspective of like, we just are so used to this. Well, now you have to be very nitpicky and fine-combed with how you talk to players and how you represent them outside the locker room. Ohio State also did the same thing, right? They had a quarterback competition between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. And this is what Ryan Day said. Ryan Day announced Kyle McCord as the starting quarterback for week 1, but also said Devin Brown deserves to play as well. That is crazy. Never before where you have a quarterback controversy, you have a quarterback competition, one guy wins. 5 years ago, we don't hear Ryan Day going, Kyle McCord won, but, Devin Brown, great plays. He deserves to play. We're going to get him out there as much as we can. No. Because the old theory is you don't want more than one quarterback. That doesn't help your team in the long run. You want to stick to a guy, consistency, and get them going with the team so the team has familiarity with them. But to say, oh, no, we want this other guy to play, I just think it's goofy and it's funny of how the new era of college football has come where coaches can't get players mad. So they're not going to release depth charts. They're not going to talk to these kids as their backup quarterback or in the view of, hey, you're our backup quarterback. It's very funny to me how this works, how it has worked. I don't know where we're going. I like how players have power now when they didn't have before, but it's interesting to see with coaches like Nick Saban, like Ryan Day, where you're pretty much, and they're saying it, that the players have all the power in these situations. And so we're not going to release a depth chart. We're going to say our backups deserve to play, and we're going to try and get them in as many games because we don't want them to transfer. It's very funny to see. I wanted to bring it up to talk about it because I thought it was a very interesting correlation for the transfer portal and how we view it in college football. And it's not just changing the way a team can go from year to year and what players can do to year, but it's changing the philosophy of how coaches talk about these players. And they have to do it in ways that they've never had to do it before or ways you don't think about it. So I wanted to highlight it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was kind of funny as well that these, coaches are thinking this way. So I just wanted to bring it to light. Something goofy. A lot of people are going to look at it and say, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you acknowledge it? I thought it was interesting. As someone that looks and tries to deep dive into things and understand why things are going, the shift in college football and the shift that we've seen in athletes over the last 10 to 15 years is, and I would say this is the LeBron factor, and now it's shaping into college football, is the players have the power. It's come to college sports, it's come to college football, and I love to see it. And I think it's funny these coaches have to backpedal on it now to how they talk about their players. All right, I'm going to start with my picks. So I wanted to record this video yesterday. Look, things came up in my life. I also work full-time job. I also have a full-time job. People, chirp me, blah, 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 blah. There was games. I get that. How do you think I pay the bills? How do you think I live the life that I live? This life isn't easy. Some people have to do the nitty-gritty and then do other things, right? I would love to sit here and say I could do this every day, all day, but I'm not sitting on the couch in my parents' basement all the time. I do live in my parents' basement, but I'm not sitting on my couch all the time talking about every little nitpicky thing. I live a real life, okay? Some people live their life. This life isn't easy. I've chosen it. Hopefully this flourishes someday. But for right now, we got to go hard knock life. So, yesterday's games, not going to put much into it. Florida is in shambles with Billy Napier. Shambles. The fact that they thought Graham Mertz, whatever you want, Graham sucks, was going to be anything good from Wisconsin where he sucked. Crazy. Florida will have a new coach. Maybe at the end of this year, maybe next year. Shambles, and it hurts from a fan that's like, that should be a college that should be dominant, just as dominant as Georgia, as it has been in years past. To see somebody like that go in there and not have success, it just shows how bad of a coach you are. Nebraska, look, Matt Rule's going to help them, but they have a lot of philosophy change to make, and it's going to take a while. It's going to take probably longer than Matt Rule thought it was, but you lose another one-score game as a program that's lost one-score games forever, it feels like now. Got to change the philosophy. I think they will. All right, so looking at tonight's games. Louisville versus Georgia Tech. Louisville 7.5-point favorite. Jeff Brom is their new coach. Georgia Tech, they're pretty bad. They have a lot of uphill battles to make. I'm going to say Louisville wins, and I'm going to say Louisville covers this spread. I think another game that's interesting to me is Stanford -3.5 versus Hawaii. Hawaii was like, a 20-point dog last week to Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. Game got delayed. They made it a game. Stanford has a new coach. They have problems with their team. I'm going to go crazy here. I'm going to say Hawaii wins this game. I don't know what it is, but I'm just feeling Hawaii. Those are the two games I wanted to highlight for tonight. Yes, college football is back. We have all these games, but there's not a lot of great games for me to sit here and pick them for this first week. All right, I think this could potentially be the best game or also the worst game. Colorado versus TCU. TCU is number 17 in the country. TCU is -20.5-point favorite. I think that this is a ludicrous line. I don't think TCU is going to be... They're not going to be anywhere near what they were last year. They had a hell of a run. Sonny Dykes, that team. They lost a lot, first of all. But I just don't get the hype. I think they're one of those teams that begin in the top 25 and they're going to drop all the way back. And then you have Colorado with Deion, the things that they're doing. You can make an argument. I would make the argument that Colorado, even with a new coach and all the things that they've done, they have better players than TCU. I just don't know what Colorado comes out and does in the first week. This is a tough one to be like, Colorado's going to win it. I think Colorado will cover the 20.5. I do, but I think TCU squeaks it out. But there will be moments in the game where you're going to look at it and go, can TCU win this game? But I think they do, but I like Colorado to cover. All right, Boise State versus number 10 Washington. Washington's 14.5-point favorite. I think this is an interesting line. It's an interesting game. Washington we expect to be very good this year. I think Washington wins this game, and I like them to cover. West Virginia at number 7 Penn State. Penn State's a 20.5-point favorite. I think this is a statement game for Penn State. It's the first non-Notre Dame game on NBC, so there'll be a lot of people watching for that factor of what does this look like for NBC without Notre Dame, other than Notre Dame from a perspective. I like Penn State, clearly, but will they cover? I think that they will. All right, number 21 North Carolina, -2.5-point favorites versus South Carolina. I'm going to tell you right now, I like South Carolina. I don't know why South Carolina is not ranked. I don't know why they're not favored. Yes, Drake May plays for North Carolina, but every year we're like, no, man, North Carolina's a good quarterback. They have good players. And then they're 6-6. And then they're 5-7. South Carolina, to me, is a better team than North Carolina. I like them to win. Coastal Carolina versus UCLA. This is a very interesting game to me. You have Grayson McCall, who's felt like he's been at Coastal Carolina for like 12 years. They had all the hype a couple years ago of, could they do this? Could they make the playoff? Are they that team? Playing UCLA, new quarterback. They don't have DTR anymore, who did a lot of things for them. They're a 14.5-point favorite. I think UCLA wins it, but I think Coastal Carolina covers. All right, and then Sunday, the biggest game, I think, of the weekend, number 5 LSU, who's minus 2.5-point favorite, versus number 8 Florida State. Last week I said LSU is going to win the national title game. Last year they lost to Florida State in, I thought it was funny fashion because of the circumstances, but in the wildest circumstances. I think it's going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be one of those where we can look at it and go, wow, we need more games like this on week 1. I think we will see these in the future, but I like LSU to win it. All right, so that's the video for this week. Week 1, officially here, fully here, finally here. Games will get better as the season goes on, hopefully. I wish they should. In the future, week 1, week 2, week 3 games should be much better. But yeah, Notre Dame has a quarterback that can not only, I think, win the Heisman Trophy, but get them to a national title. I really believe that. It's funny to look at the transfer portal, like I said, and how coaches now have to talk about players differently and how the players have the power. I love the switch. It's funny. It's just funny to me to watch these coaches. And then my picks. Couple dogs, couple interesting things. I like it. Week 1 is here. I will see you next week.